The evolution from a brilliant brainchild to a real estate disaster, the approach of short-term rental was straightforward. Make your property profitable by offering an alternative to normal hotel facilities. Launched by a team of budding entrepreneurs in 2007, Airbnb was essentially the advent of this idea. It was uncomplicated. You just posted your space, flat, or home on an online platform and accepted bookings from unknown people as though it were a hotel. Initially, the concept received doubt, but it gained momentum, and currently, numerous companies are battling it out in an industry worth $100 billion. At one point or another, we've all either booked a short-term rental or stayed in one with friends. The short-term rental industry's popularity has surged in recent years, but perceptions are beginning to shift as the real story behind Airbnb, vacation rental by owner, and other short-term rental companies emerges. Resistance is building among individuals and local governments against what was initially intended as a simple hotel alternative. Over the past decade, this straightforward concept has evolved into an innovative idea that has entirely transformed real estate. This once obscure concept has dramatically altered the market, surpassing even the creator's most ambitious dreams. Across the United States, it is increasingly observed that Airbnb has significantly impacted local property prices and community dynamics. This is true from California's West Coast to Miami's sunny beaches. Numerous cities have barred the platform, blaming prospects of crime, greed, and speculation as primary reasons for keeping short-term rental services illegal. A major concern is the park and profit practice. Affluent individuals buy properties, treat them like personal cash machines, and anticipate considerable profits while paying minimal or no taxes. Lenient U.S. laws on home value appreciation income facilitate this exploitation. Now this issue is becoming more visible to the general public. Amidst declining housing accessibility, dissatisfaction is increasing. Recently implemented regulations and rising customer objections concerning concealed pricing, market manipulation, excessive charges, and safety issues have all contributed to this immense bubble that appears to be bursting rapidly. Please take 2 seconds to help me out and hit the like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Each like and subscribe helps support this channel and keeps us motivated to keep making you great content. Thank you. Now, back to what I was saying. Numerous indicators frequently referred to as the Airbnb bubble suggest an imminent downfall, one that could destabilize the entire housing market, as per several professionals. However, it's essential to delve into some historical background to understand this situation. Many apartments are owned by affluent individuals who keep them vacant as the rent is of less consequence compared to the security of their excess capital. This intriguing trend has removed thousands of units from the long-term rental market in favor of more lucrative returns. Currently, roughly 6,500 households in Sarasota are listed on Airbnb, a shocking figure considering the area comprises only 24,000 households. This implies that around 1 in every 3 homes is designated an Airbnb short-term rental. Observing entire buildings with minimal lights on is not unusual if one were to visit a popular tourist destination like Sarasota. This worrisome fact indicates an intense overpopulation of Airbnb in the region, making it one of the most Airbnb-dense areas across the entire U.S. Wealthy individuals are quickly realizing that their secondary and tertiary properties can generate more income through short-term rentals than from long-term tenants. This realization has triggered an unsettling trend. The surge in investment has resulted in the widespread conversion of large U.S. regions into short-term rental communities. The effects are severe, as these returns inflate the general price perception, exacerbating the situation due to the speculative nature of the market. This Airbnb frenzy acts as a catalyst, driving an unmanageable bubble, most notably in regions like Florida. The excessive uncertainty has led to an increase in poor quality loans, adversely affecting the banking sector and potentially causing instability throughout the entire financial system. The potential for an inflated market bubble is becoming a significant worry for the stability and longevity of the real estate market in these areas. The expanding housing affordability crisis is unmistakably demonstrated by the shocking increase in housing prices in Sarasota since January 2020. While the average house price in the United States has seen a considerable rise of 47%, Sarasota's skyrocketing prices are nothing short of dramatic, with an alarming growth of 68%. Looking deeper into this substantial surge uncovers a troubling reason: the strong impact of the Airbnb trend. This extraordinary escalation in housing costs is partly driven by what seems to be a rampant obsession with Airbnb rentals. The temptation of instant profits through short-term property letting on websites such as Airbnb has vastly influenced the real estate industry. This has led property owners to favor transient lodgings over long-term security. This alteration in perspective has caused a skewed market condition where the pursuit of instant gains supersedes the urgent requirement for low-cost and sustainable residences. Despite this, one cannot entirely fault individuals for choosing this path. Considering today's exorbitant prices and soaring interest rates, generating income is still possible in numerous regions. Today's reality is that average individuals are pitted against what could be described as quasi-commercial bodies posing as regular folks. Unfortunately, this is pushing individuals out of the market. Consider this: if you bought an average house today, put down a 20% deposit on a 30-year mortgage, and paid about 7% interest, your projected monthly cost, including taxes and insurance, would likely be approximately $3,500. For a typical American household, that's a big figure. However, using AirDNA's property income potential tool, you can estimate your earnings from this property as an Airbnb rental. Based on their data, you're likely to rake in about $90,000 in sales. You might argue that this calculation doesn't account for the costs and the complexities of running an Airbnb property. That's completely valid. However, even after these considerations, AirDNA suggests you'd still earn approximately $64,000 in pure profit annually. This property's capitalization rate could be astonishing if these figures are accurate. Investors gravitate towards certificates of deposit, which offer around a 5% interest rate. Despite their high prices, investing in short-term rentals, which are effective profit-generating entities, calls their attention even more. The appeal lies in the fact that they offer considerably higher returns than conventional investment methods. Moreover, real estate investments' unmatched tax benefits enhance their appeal, making them a promising option for wealth conservation and enlargement. This trend is increasingly becoming favored among affluent individuals, triggering a subsequent tide of speculation as investors grasp the potential for sizable gains in the short-term rental market. The surge in prices in places such as Sarasota directly results from this flood of investment. Consequently, it has led to a fiercely competitive scenario, pushing up property values. However, this competition isn't quite level, and the repercussions of this exploitation might potentially collapse the whole system, not only in Sarasota, but nationwide. As this form of investment continues to enrich the wealthy, individuals with modest financial means also join in what can be likened to a contemporary gold rush. They notice the profitable returns and strategize to overcome the initial hurdles, even resorting to borrowing excessively with high leverage rates. If presently you're contemplating purchasing an Airbnb or VRBO property as an individual, you essentially have a handful of alternatives, with the simplest being a cash payment. This method lets you evade interest costs without being bound by the loan rules. However, as the prices of many of these properties hover around the $500,000 mark, the majority of prospective speculators find this option unfeasible. Presently, another lawful alternative is a debt service coverage ratio (DSCR) loan. We'll delve deeper into DSCR loans later, but they were originally intended for enterprises like hotels. However, these loans have entered the residential marketplace because an Airbnb is somewhat similar to a hotel. The downside is that these loans have a higher interest rate and often demand a minimum down payment of 25%. Consequently, they are seldom chosen as a primary option, and instead, many opt for something that can potentially harm the whole real estate industry: the conventional mortgage. The principal residence mortgage becomes a key tactic speculative short-term rental businesses use. It's a well-known fact that many operators prefer a conventional primary residence mortgage to finance their properties. The appeal lies in the straightforwardness of the process: a 30-year payment scheme with the option to make a minimum 5% down payment. This conduct is plainly identified as mortgage fraud. The standard mortgage, created to fit the financial requirements of ordinary households in usual living scenarios, is exploited in a manner that raises moral and legal questions about mortgage operations within the short-term rental industry. Typical mortgages have certain conditions aimed at minimizing the financial institution's risks. These conditions usually require homeowners to reside in the financed property for a lengthy period and disallow the property's business use. Initially devised to promote the success and well-being of American families, these loans are now being repurposed to procure what essentially equates to numerous hotels. This deviation from their original objective triggers apprehensions regarding the ethical utilization of financial tools meant to encourage individual habitation and community growth. This type of misuse often goes unnoticed by several banks and regulatory agencies, generating a situation where these practices thrive without restraint. Gradually, these patterns are prone to provoke conjecture, which can eventually cause price inflation impacting everyone. This isn't merely a personal remark, but it is also highlighted in a scholarly paper from the Philadelphia Federal Reserve. This comprehensive research meticulously highlights the broad reach of this issue. It illustrates that some individuals falsely claim to reside in the houses they purchase, a tactic known as occupancy fraud. This deceitful act is carried out to secure favorable mortgage conditions. This issue was notably prevalent during the previous housing crisis and persists to date. This deception is found across various loan types, not just confined to private ones. Roughly 1 in 3 supposed regular homeowners are, in reality, real estate investors manipulating the system for more favorable loan conditions. However, these deceptive borrowers carry a higher risk and significantly increase the likelihood of loan defaults. They often choose to stop payments deliberately when house prices dip. Over the past decade and more, house prices have generally been on an upward trend, with a considerable spike over the last 3 years. This scenario is particularly beneficial for investors who excel in such market circumstances. It's vital, though, to understand that should there be a prolonged economic slump, the excess and reckless borrowing these investors engage in could rapidly destabilize the whole real estate sector and the banking system, mirroring the crisis of 2008. Sadly, the insatiable appetite for more doesn't stop at just mortgage fraud. An alarming number of investors, not content with the usual mortgage exploitation, are taking the game further. After maximizing their leverage by securing favorable loan conditions, they progress to another level of financial speculation called Dscr loans. Despite seeming complex, they're actually quite straightforward. Dscr, or debt service coverage ratio, represents a distinct loan category, different from standard lending practices that depend on the borrower's personal income or wealth. Instead, Dscr loans revolve around the value of the property in question and its expected income generation. These loans can be secured without a job or a regular income. Initially, they were established for commercial property purposes, but now have infiltrated the ambiguous sector of short-term rental services, as seen on platforms like Airbnb. There's a common trend in Florida and many other popular tourist destinations across the country. Individuals invest in properties using conventional mortgages. As we've discussed previously, after exhausting the available opportunities in that sphere, they switch to the debt service coverage ratio sector. This transition keeps them continuously stepping up the ladder into a large pile of debt. However, this debt shines like gold when the market is on the upswing, as demonstrated by the AirDNA data. Despite the current situation, achieving a 20% return on investment on a profitable property is entirely feasible. If we take into account the leveraging factor, this figure balloons even further. The cash returns versus the actual initial investment are significantly larger. Many are amassing paper wealth through this strategy. But as with all financial bubbles, when the market downturns and loans turn sour, these supposed fortunes can swiftly plummet into financial ruin. The loans based on the debt service coverage ratio are the contemporary equivalent of the so-called ninja loans, which are granted without an income or employment verification. These loans are typically based on an estimated income from your mini hotel, but often these assumptions are exaggerated. We haven't seen a severe economic downturn for many years, but when one occurs, these properties are likely to quickly fall into insolvency. Few people will be interested in booking Airbnb properties if the jobless rate soars to to 8%. With significant capital driven into the speculative short-term rental market, the seeds for the next financial crisis have already been sown. This uncontrolled situation begins with the leveraged investor in a new age gold rush, where robust returns from short-term rentals conceal his utter carelessness. This trend straddles the line between fraud and risky gambling as investors continuously push the limits of innovative financing methods. Kiyosaki assures those hoping to buy a new home or rent property, good times are just around the corner. He further adds, the optimal time to build wealth is during a crash. New York City, a major hub for Airbnb, has noted a substantial decrease in short-term listings. Robert Kiyosaki, the renowned author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, foresees a drastic change in the real estate sector. Kiyosaki has recently posted on X, previously known as Twitter, predicting that Airbnb might trigger the downfall of the real estate market. Even though such a downfall can have severe repercussions for property owners, Kiyosaki suggests that it might open the door to possibilities for prospective buyers. His post says, if you're dreaming of a new home or rental property, your lucky days are not that far ahead. Crashes are actually the perfect times to build your wealth. Kiyosaki's prediction about Airbnb's impact on the real estate industry is not isolated. Industry experts have also noted that Airbnb has caused significant disruption in the housing market, particularly in major cities like New York and San Francisco. As more properties are converted into short-term rentals, the availability of long-term rental options decreases. This, in turn, drives up rent prices and makes it difficult for locals to afford housing. Platforms for short-term rentals like Airbnb have transformed numerous residential places into exclusive, unoccupied hotel rooms. Dwellings that were once designed, sanctioned, and constructed for residential purposes have now become commercial spaces to suit travelers' needs. The real issue lies with the operators of these short-term rentals, not the individuals who rent their properties occasionally. Thanks for watching, and please make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a comment below letting me know what you see in your local market.